for Manny Ramirez, Big Kathy. That's like an antiquated Red Sox analogy. Well, I'm pretty fortunate to be here at my alma mater as well. Naval ROTC, you're like, well, you're a Marine, why are you in charge of the Naval ROTC department? 8 of the 77 Naval ROTC units across the country are fortunate enough to be run by Marines, that's like the thing. So here's a little bit about our team. And I want to kind of focus a lot of numbers up there, but a few numbers and acronyms I'd like to highlight. So in your position, you're interested in scholarships. We'll talk later in all the services, all the scholarship boards are pretty much almost all met. We have one more Navy board left. But this is kind of the makeup. See 53 four-year scholarships. Incoming this next year, we've already had selected 24 Navy, 12 Marine, incoming four-year nationals. The other thing I'd like to highlight here is you see 6 STA-21, Seaman to Admiral program. Those are active duty sailors that are going to go nuclear power. They've been hand selected because of their performance in the fleet, Navy, usually on a nuclear power carrier or a submarine. And then they come here to get a degree and they go back to the nuclear power. What's unique about that is they're all electrical engineers, they all have 4.0s. And it's great to have that around our cadets. The same note, you see MECEP, Marine Enlisted Commissioning Education Program. These are non-commissioned officers and staff non-commissioned officers of the Marine Corps that have qualified for a pretty elite program to come here to get their college degree so that they can commission as second lieutenants. That's why I'm a Marine record. Sat next to one when I was a cadet here, and I said, I want to be like this gentleman. Real life experiences, been all over the world, was a husband, a dad, had it all together. So that's one of the unique things about our department. And first and foremost, I'll say that we don't compete with the Army or the Air Force. Plenty to go around. Each program is a little bit different, but many have similarities. You'll get that when you ask your questions here at the very end. One other thing that we do here is we integrate those folks who may not commission through a scholarship. So I wasn't there on a scholarship. I went through the platoon leaders class, which was through the local officer recruiter at the recruiting station, but I was integrated in the unit, and we still do that today. So these are aspiring Marines that are going to go to officer candidate schools, and they train with the unit. We also offer that up on the Navy side as well. We just don't have as many folks that go to officer candidate school first. So you may have heard it through all your briefs, and I know you've got a bunch of them. 2,359 or so folks in the Corps of Cadets. How many pursue commissions? About 35%, at least while they're cadets. We could probably bounce it off the Career Center and say that maybe some folks go up to grad school, go to business, and it winds up being about 40% total commission. But it's not the entire Corps of Cadets. Right? So of that 207, how many do we actually teach? So you may have heard, you have to take 4 semesters of ROTC, whatever branch you want, right? If you're not on a path to commissioning coming in the door, you can sample. Once you're on that path, though, in any of our branches, you pretty much want to stay with that. So what do folks do who don't pursue commissions? They would take a leadership equivalent in their specific major. So we start off with about 430 to 480 in total that we're teaching, and then we have about 207 to 220 that are actually pursuing commissions to be ensigns and second lieutenants. 4-year scholarship is closed out. We have one more Navy board remaining, so if a few people here are still waiting on that, I believe it's coming in the next couple weeks. You should hear about that very soon. So I unfortunately heard the word back. We didn't get it in our first swing at the plate. As a brand new freshman, we do this the first week they're here, Challenge Week, they can reapply for that 4-year national, and it winds up being like a 3.5-year if selected. Highly competitive, they're still competing with those seniors right now that are in high school. The one element of this is that they're looking still at their high school careers. Now you see 3-year scholarships, actually I'll move to that later on. These are the competitive qualifications, very close to what you'd see as a Federal Service Academy. 3- and 2-year scholarships. So by the end of the freshman year, the NOG year, we're working both on the Navy and the Marine side to see who's competitive for a 3-year scholarship. Now, at that point, they are looking at what they did here their freshman year, and they're no longer looking back at their high school performance. That can be either bad or good. The NOG year can be very challenging, or it can be exactly what they were looking for, and the structure here sets them up for success. 2-year scholarship, the entire sophomore year. You have 2 times to apply for that, in the fall and the spring. And you can see what are the typical qualifications. 3.5 GPA here, or a 3.3. And one of the breakouts for the Marine side of the house is a 282 out of 300 possible points on physical fitness test. That's pretty intense. That is what we're seeing across the board for almost all commissioning programs in the Marine Corps. 275 or higher out of that 300 physical fitness test. One of the unique elements for us, while all the branches are looking for STEM majors, we have to have on the Navy side 80% take science, technology, engineering, or math. So what are we talking about? Tier 1, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. Tier 2, civil engineering, mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry, computer science. And then Tier 3 is all your humanities. So we're held to that nationally, and each unit is held to that. I should go back. You saw us talk about 4, 3, and 2-year scholarships. That's done for us at the national level. We do not have the ability here within the school or even the region to turn a scholarship for an individual. The application process does come through us, but it's loaded up, and then you're competing at the national level. That is different by service, and my peer will explain that to you. All right, okay. Wasn't a scholarship student. Again, I said I wasn't one of those either. I'm a dumb guy from Boston. So I went through platoon leaders class. Went to the local recruiter, still stayed at Naval ROTC, did all the training, and it prepared me to go to officer candidate school. In my case, I had to go to 2 6-week summers. A scholarship student goes to 1 6-week summer. These are some of the other elements and ways that you can get a commission. A lot of folks stumble into it late. So my son's in Colonel Will's program, right? As a freshman, he didn't do anything with the unit, his unit, the first semester. He was kind of feeling himself out, trying to get some good grades, learning this whole NOB system. But then by his second semester, he said, I want to be a lieutenant in the Air Force, and then started getting involved. I tell you that because to be evaluated, we need those folks to be integrated in the unit. But if only 35% commission, you can see plenty of the school does not do the things like leadership laboratories, or training with us. They do their minimum of 4 semesters. Now here's another slide that's unique to us, the Naval ROTC. These are the branches that we commission to. Just those 4 on the Navy side: surface, subsurface, aviation, and special warfare. You're like, well, there's lawyers in the Navy. Absolutely, they just don't come through the Naval ROTC unit program, and that's any of us, not just the citadels. Now, on the Marine side of the house, we're about to commission in just 3 weeks about 20 second lieutenants. Those second lieutenants, unless they're guaranteed aviation, will not know where they're going to serve or what their military occupational specialty is until they complete a 6-month course called the basic school that's at Quantico, Virginia. So they leave here, they go up there and compete for 6 months, learn to be a provisional rifle platoon commander, and then they find out what their specialty is going to be. But on our staff, we have each of the probably denominations, I would say, represented: aviation, ground combat, support. Now, a lot of parents, their sons or daughters interested in special warfare, explosive ordnance disposal, SEAL. I'm just kind of mention now, I mentioned 77 units in the nation, 17 slots for NROTC for SEAL, and about 11 this last year for explosive ordnance disposal. So special warfare, very competitive. It's broken up. Naval Academy gets a certain amount of slots, officer candidate school does, but NROTC is right in the teams on both EOD and SEAL. All right, so what's it look like if you're in the NROTC unit? First year, Navy and Marine train together, right? That 100 level series class, and that's it. We're the Navy and Marine Corps team. It starts right there, all the way through the first semester of his sophomore year with a Naval Leadership and Management class, and then they break apart. They head into navigation on the Navy side. That can be a deal breaker if you have an engineering degree or mathematics, because it's a difficult course, 3 credit hour course, and one of the first ones that we have at that 200 level. And the Marines break off and they will do concepts and weapons. They stay apart on their paths. This class very much focused on getting them ready for officer candidate school, as well as history of the Marine Corps and evolutionary warfare, and the Navy folks are learning naval ship systems. They go off to their summer cruise on the Navy side or officer candidate school. They come back one last semester apart with basic seamanship and fundamentals of maneuver warfare, and then back together for a capstone leadership class right before they commission, and that's what they do. All right, so what is going on in this unit here? This Air Force unit, an Army unit, Navy unit. Okay? Again, if you're not pursuing a path to commissioning, other than taking your 4 semesters of ROTC, you don't need to be a part of that. However, for us, we're trying to make commissioned officers. So we have to do that. We have to put kind of the Navy Marine spin on it in our case. So every Monday and Thursday afternoons from 4 o'clock to 6 p.m., we have a leadership laboratory. That involves basically training in the naval services and what they're going to need to be an ensign in the Navy or a second lieutenant Marines. Leadership, general military skills training, how to be a provisional platoon commander, things that they'll need for officer candidate school. On the Navy side, we will break it into what they aspire to be. Special warfare, subsurface, surface, or naval aviation. We also slip some physical training in there. So if the Corps of Cadets, beyond ROTCs, has physical training on Monday and Thursday morning, we have it on Wednesday and Friday mornings, and then we also sprinkle it in our leadership laboratories, typically at the end on those Mondays and Thursdays. So you can see, if you're pursuing path to commission, fellows in the back will talk about it as well, you're doing a lot more than the average cadet here. Summer training, it's pretty specific for us. So if you're a 4-year scholarship, your first summer, you're going to what they call career-oriented training midshipman, or quarterman. Regardless, Navy Marine. 4 weeks, a subsurface week, an aviation week, a surface week, and then a Marine week on a respective coast. Following summers, as a rising Navy option, you'll do sea trials up in Great Lakes, and then subsequently you'll do your senior cruise in what you want to do. And then you'll find out by October, right before we get our rings, what your branch is in the Navy. The Marine side of the house, your second summer, after quartermid, typically go to Camp Lejeune or Camp Pendleton, be assigned with the Marine Air Ground Task Force, and you'll be shadowing a second lieutenant. In the following summer, you have to go to officer candidate school. The Navy Marine Corps team, we train together, leadership laboratories in the classroom, programs of instruction break apart for a little bit, come back together because that's what you expect out of your sailors and Marines, and this is what we're hoping for. We commission about 40 each year, 40 to 42 each year, and that's about equivalent to the Air Force, but much lower than the Army. So I look forward to your questions later on. Thank you.
My pleasure to introduce Colonel C.J. Will, the Commanding Officer of the Air Force ROTC. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
He's also the most comfortably dressed of all.
Yes. I have pockets upon pockets and zippers. I don't even know what's in this thing anymore. So, hey, it's good to see you all here this morning. I think it's the last one of the year, right?
It is.
Goodness gracious, how time flies. So, name is C.J. Will. I'm the Air Force ROTC Detachment Commander here for Detachment 765. I am not a Citadel grad, but I do love this school. It's filled with all sorts of special folks. The young men and women who come here are extraordinarily talented and dedicated, and this place shapes them, much like the uniform shapes us once we leave our college experience and go on into active duty. So, I mean, they work harder than the average college student. We add ROTC to it on top of it, and it is really inspiring to see what these young men and women do every single day. And this is from somebody outside looking in. All right. I'm a California boy. I didn't know much about the Citadel. I would like to have known about it, though. I can be honest with you. It's a tough road to hoe here. And the fact that you all are sitting here and that your daughters and sons are thinking about the Citadel as a potential option is a huge win for you. It means you guys have been doing your job as parents. So my hat's off to you. So congratulations on that. Just me. All right, here I am. Slides up. I'm going to cover a lot of the basics. Chuck did a fantastic job setting kind of the boundaries for the discussion. We'll spend a lot more time talking about the differences between programs from here on out. It's always tough being the first one out of the queue because you have to kind of set the foundation, and he's done a fantastic job with that. So this is the kind of stuff we'll be talking about. The Air Force mission is to fly, fight, and win in airspace and cyberspace. There are a lot of misnomers about the Air Force. You don't have to be a 4.0 student to be in the Air Force. I was a poli-sci major in college, ended up with about a 3.6, so I worked pretty hard. But we get all sorts in the Air Force. We have special operations. We're in desperate need of pilots right now. You don't have to be an engineer or a science major to be a pilot. Our Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Goldfein, is a philosophy major. So it takes all kinds. And so we take a lot of different folks into the Air Force to do all sorts of different jobs, and I'll talk to you about those different career opportunities. But it all starts here, building on what the Citadel already does. We have an incredible luxury here as our detachment commanders. We get to take the stuff that the Leadership Institute is doing, that the Citadel is doing, and build on that. And so these cadets get a really rich experience, not only in the Citadel, but also in ROTC. And we actually pick up a lot of kids who have to take ROTC their first 4 semesters and do it just as a matter of course because they have to, and then end up falling in love with one of the programs. And if they start in Air Force and decide, hey, I really want to do Army, well, I'm glad to march them down to Colonel Cirillo or march them downstairs, Colonel Dunn, if they want to go Navy or Marine Corps. I just want kids to serve. They got a burning heart, you know, they're a burning dream and a desire in their heart to serve. That's what we're about. If they're scholarship, it makes it trickier. If they're already on scholarship, obviously that's something we would try to talk them out of simply because they'd have to lose a scholarship to compete for a new one. But it's all about service here, and we don't compete for kids. We just want to get them out, get them out to the military to serve. Again, the young men and women here are of such a high caliber that it's a win across the board when that happens. So we build upon honor, duty, and respect, and we add integrity, service, and excellence. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that we do. Those are the core principles of the United States Air Force. And we talk about those, and then we live them. Those are principles that become part of us. And again, when you put this uniform on, who here has served in uniform, military? You put the uniform on, it changes you. It makes, you know, the expectation is different. Whether it's a Citadel uniform or a military uniform, it shapes your character because so much more is expected of you. So we build upon that and then create the best lieutenants of the Air Force to ask. We mentor and mold tomorrow's leaders. It isn't just about teaching and instructing. I can stand in front of people with slides and talk about the missions of the Air Force and blah, blah, blah. The kids don't get anything out of that. They're going to hear it 16 times before they learn it anyway. What you really need and what we focus on giving is that personal attention, that mentoring. What is it that you want to do, young man or young lady in the military? And how do we help you get there from here? And what are the steps we need to do, whether it's being a lawyer, being a doctor, being a pilot, being a dentist? I don't care what the dream is. If the major is offered here and we have a career field, we can help them get there. And hopefully get some of that school paid for too with scholarships. The standard Air Force ROTC program looks a lot like the other programs here. The freshman and sophomore year, they have 1-hour credit courses, basic doctrine and principle. And then between their sophomore and their junior year, the only required summer program is a 13-day evaluation at Maxwell Air Force Base sometime between the beginning and the end of the summer between their sophomore and junior year. The other summers, and even in that summer, because it's such a short course, they have additional opportunities to do some other neat things that we'll cover here in a little bit. But everything is a competition. So whether they get into field training depends upon how many kids the Air Force needs to try and make young officers. Whether they get to be rated officers, pilots, which is something they find out in their junior year, or combat systems operators, air battle managers, drone pilots, any of those career fields, that's a competition and that happens in the junior year. So everything is based upon their GPA, first and foremost, their physical fitness, and their physical fitness scores, their commander's ranking, and then depending on what it is that they're applying for and what it is they want to do, there's some other factors that come into play. But again, everything's a competition. It's a meritocracy. It's not need-based. It is blind to where you're from, what religion you pray to, what color your skin is. It is all about what that paperwork says and what those scores reflect. And then their junior and senior year, they go into leadership opportunities. We just picked our wing commander and our vice wing commander for the cadet wing here just the last day or so. And those are 3-hour courses. And they really are seminars, just opportunities to discuss and mentor. We also have ROTC weekends where we train them up, we go on trips, do some other stuff too. So we keep busy and engaged and try to give them a chance to have some fun every once in a while too. If you look, a lot of these pictures, the kids are smiling. They're working really hard, but when the camera turns to them, they all smile and give a thumbs up, so it can't be that bad, right? All right, so physical training twice per week on Monday afternoon, and then Friday morning. We had some PT this morning, so I'll be asleep by 7 p.m. tonight. I have no fun on Friday. We get up early and go run around and have some fun and do some physical training on Friday mornings. Lead Labs on Thursday afternoons. We have Air Force ROTC training weekends, Leadership Day, and we fold in all the stuff that the Leadership Center is doing here. We really try to pitch in and help. We are part of the faculty here, and it's not just us running an ROTC program. Here are the officer career options, and every one of them is open to a cadet every year, depending on the Air Force need and cadet aptitude scores and competition. We preach that we're an operational Air Force. The Air Force is different than many other services in that it is mostly the officers who are doing the fighting. And we still need that backbone of enlisted airmen to fight alongside us in combat and or administer the force and make sure we have the support we need when we go down range. So it's a bit different. It is an operational Air Force. But again, because of our technical specialization, because of the things that we do in airspace and cyberspace, most of our airmen who are in combat, who are in harm's way, who are taking a fight to the enemy, are officers. But we also have special forces, special warfare, whether it's special tactics officers, whether it's ALOs, who are air liaison officers, whether it's combat rescue officers. So there's all sorts of different types in the Air Force. High school scholarship program. So for kids next year, obviously we're beyond the application deadline for that. About a third of our scholarship kids are out of that high school scholarship program. The majority of the kids who end up in our scholarship programs are in college scholarship programs. So here's just a basic minimum, and then an average would be significantly higher than those scores. There's a stipend that comes along with cadets once they contract with us. And that usually happens either when they get a scholarship or they come back for field training this summer between their sophomore and junior year. But most of our college scholarships are in-college scholarships, and they are awarded to freshmen the spring of their freshman year or to sophomores the fall of their sophomore year. And those scholarships, the high school scholarship program is typically to technical degrees for engineering, math, those types of degrees. When we get to the in-college scholarship program, it's inverse. Most of those scholarships go to non-technical degrees. And so GPA is king. GPA is king in competition for whether you want to be a pilot, whether you want a scholarship. That is the number one priority, and we preach that. It's about academics, right? It's about academics. However, I, as a commander, get a couple of scholarships, typically every semester, that I can give to students who may not be able to compete because of GPA, may not be able to compete because of objectivized testing and scoring, but have it. They are going to be great officers. And those are folks that I just get to pick, after consulting with the staff, of course. But the rest of it is done at a national level. And typically, we want those kids to have 3.5 or higher. And it does not matter, again, if you're applying to be a pilot, you're applying to do something operationally, GPA is the king. So don't think you've got to force somebody to be a chemistry major or an engineer if they want to be a pilot. What's most important is that they do what they love and that they get as high a GPA as possible. Here are some examples of the different kind of training we do in the summer. Operation Air Force, we get a chance to send a bunch of cadets around to follow Air Force officers at sea bases. Engineering, AFIT does a cyber education camp. It's outstanding. The NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, does fantastic work too. Project Global Officer, we're sending some cadets downrange with that. If you wanted to jump out of an airplane for some reason, you could. There you go, if that makes you happy. You can do some soaring at the Air Force Academy. In fact, there's a lot more aviation programs within Air Force ROTC now than there used to be because of the pilot shortage. In fact, we do a lot of flying here as well at the Citadel through a flying club. It's very robust. Space operations all the way around the world. I will look forward to answering your questions. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to introduce our final speaker, Colonel John Strolik of the Army Articles.
Team, I'll talk fast when we get to questions. We are the second largest Army ROTC program in the country, just behind the Virginia Military Institute. We're the third largest Army commissioning source behind West Point, VMI, then the Citadel. We're going to commission over 100 Citadel graduates this summer, just 3 weeks from now. And they're going to serve in all three components. So one of the significant differences between our three programs is over a third of our commissionees will serve in the National Guard or Army Reserve. We are the largest single commissioning source of Army National Guard lieutenants for the state of South Carolina. There's a long, deep, rich tradition here. So we'll have men and women serving in the Army Reserve, the National Guard, and about 2/3 of them will serve in the active duty Army. Who has received a scholarship offer from the Army? Anybody? Okay, congratulations. It's exceptionally competitive year. Gets more competitive each year. I was president of the first board in October. So job very well done. I have two teenage boys. One's about to be a senior in high school, and that knucklehead better make a cut. Okay, so we talked about scholarships. That if you have younger children, then this is important information. However, the boards have passed, and all three results for all three boards have been published, and letters have been sent with the offers. Now, we pay tuition fees for room and board. Another difference between our three services is we do not discriminate between STEM and non-STEM. We're in-state and out-of-state. So when a cadet is on scholarship for the Army, nationwide, we rack and stack them, or for campus-based scholarships here, they can study political science or biology. They can be from Iowa or Texas or Mount Pleasant. And we will pay full tuition and fees or room and board. Well over 90% of our cadets are paying the tuition and fees, not room and board, unless they have another source. It's competitive. You'll see it there. You know, a lot of young men and women that are applying that received 4-year scholarships this year are also applying for nominations for the service academies. Okay, now, what I will tell you is, you know, our recruiting and enrollment officer, Josh Nelson, the scholarship officer here, he's the best in it. He gets called from all kinds of people across all 50 states. Hey, Josh, how come you can have so many scholarships and I don't, right? And Josh moves them along and tries to help them process the most qualified men and women. We are the #1 by dollar amount. We are the largest Army ROTC scholarship program in the country. So we're cutting a pretty good check to the Citadel each and every semester. That helps us because we garner resources and it gives us a seat at the table when we're deciding how we're going to operate here to some small degree, right? And but we are fortunate to have the level of support that we do here. It is important to the Citadel. It's important to the college that we produce military officers. Now, the Minuteman Scholarship, this is when, now they're only 18, I got it, some are only 17. They're going to commit to serve in the National Guard or Army Reserve following graduation from here at the Citadel. But some of them know. Some of them are following their footsteps of their parents or their grandparents or their significant influences. So they know that they want to pursue a career in law and be a infantryman with the National Guard or Army Reserve simultaneously after graduation. And we have openings now, right now, for them to get on board. The Army will just keep rolling along. We will pay for tuition and fees here. Now you think about that deal. I actually think it's the best deal in higher education in the United States, period, regardless. Right? You know, some of you know this. Some of you that have served before know that you know the connections they're going to make as lieutenants in the Guard and Reserve, and then work here maybe in the great state of South Carolina with the Citadel Network. They're going to do just fine, and they're going to walk out of here with darn near, if they're careful, about zero debt, maybe a couple dollars in their pocket way out the door. Okay. Deadlines, I'm not going to talk about, all I'm going to tell you here on this chart is between 85 and 95 freshmen from the incoming class. The class is going to arrive here on August 16th, very early in the morning. Between 85 and 95 of those young men and women will be on Army ROTC scholarship. About half of them on a 4-year scholarship, about half of them on a 3-year advanced designee scholarship. That's a pretty significant chunk of the incoming freshman class. We'll meet with them the day prior. But over the course of the next 4 years, we'll award dozens of scholarships to additional students here at the Citadel, each and every year, each and every semester. Some will be on 3.5 years, some on 3 years, some on 2.5, some on 2 years. And by the time they walk across the stage, like the crew that's going to execute here in 3.5 weeks, nearly 100% of them will have tuition and fees paid for by the United States Army prior to commissioning. Okay, our program is similar to the other two programs. When we do summer training is a significant difference that I will highlight. So our mandatory training is between their sophomore and their junior year. They do 37 days, it's currently a 37-day model. It's been anywhere from 42 days to 30 days. It's currently a 37-day model at Fort Knox, Kentucky, where we evaluate their leadership, their fitness, and their propensity to serve, right? Their motivation. And then we start making decisions on where they are going to serve following graduation, between their junior and senior. So that's not when we execute the trip to the Bahamas, Mom and Dad, right? It's not where they get to Eurail Pass and go to Greece. That summer, and that junior year is the summer that's most demanding for them. So the junior year here is when we do a lot of military training. And we just got back to Fort Jackson, where they did land navigation day and night. And we spent time on the range. We shot 20,000 rounds in the fall so they could hit what they shoot at. And we do a lot of intense, it's not intense, but it's good and it's solid and it's basic military training that prepares them to excel at CST, because we want every one of them to come back and receive their branch and component of choice, period. So their success is our success. It's strictly the way in which they know this. It's strictly the way in which I measure our effectiveness here as a program. When are we meeting the Army's mission? That's actually secondary. I'll take the chewing from the boss if they're not the right man or woman. But most importantly, they want to be an armor officer. They want to fly helicopters. I fly Apaches. That's the coolest job ever known to man. If they want to do that and they get it, well then we're good to go. Then it's 100%, we're 100% go. So we are all about the cadets, and I won't tolerate anything other than that. And so we train hard here. We do physical training 3 days a week. For sure, Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the program. I think we're gonna keep it the same next semester. I continue to try to incentivize them to do well so we don't have to wake up so darn early every morning. And I'm only slightly successful so far. But at Tuesday and Wednesdays at 5:30 in the morning, we exercise hard. And on Fridays, if they don't do well enough, or there's an unexcused absence, or they miss physical training, they'll be out there Friday morning to 05:30. So 2 to 3 times a week, 05:30 to 06:40. We're running between 3 and 5 miles, lifting something, dragging something, stretching something. It's kind of how it works. We have 30 cavalry members here. That's a really large program. So, most programs nationwide, I have a command sergeant major. We're about to retire in 2 hours from now with 30 years of service in the Army. He's been a command sergeant major 5 times, 3 in the 82nd Airborne Division. My XO is a graduate of the college here. He's exceptional. I have 4 captains or majors that are members of the Citadel team that graduated from this distinguished college that helped me navigate between here and Bond Hall. Our non-commissioned officers are hand-selected. They all get promoted to the next rank. They are all going to be first sergeants and sergeant majors. For those of you that are familiar with military service understand how difficult it is to achieve the ranks and the positions in which they're serving, and they're here with us on the team. The Army has invested a lot of resources into Army ROTC training here at the Citadel. Okay, now in their other summers they can do whatever they want, largely. A lot of them go overseas. We have nearly 3 dozen cadets that either this summer or next fall will serve overseas. Colonel Dunn talks about it from time to time, but I know he was trying to be brief about Project Global Officer. Congratulations, teammates. I know you both have cadets that are attending Project Global Officer. We also have one that'll be heading to Singapore. So we have cadets serving. They're going to be going all over the planet, literally. Starting, there's some over there now this semester, but next semester we typically send 2 dozen Army ROTC cadets. And as long as it keeps them on academic track, my philosophy, I won't speak for the other teammates, but I approve almost hands down. So if they come with a recommendation from a professor on campus and it doesn't get them off track and they're going to get out of here at 8 semesters and not become 5th years, it's really not tolerated around here. There's very few of them. They'll be allowed to study overseas, and we will pay for those programs. We almost always pay totality for those programs overseas. Greece is a popular spot lately for the cadets. So now, I talked about we can serve in any of the 3 components, the National Guard, the Army Reserve, the active duty. In addition, we have a lot of branches. Now, what I will tell you is our talent management system, which is pretty complicated and is based on a lot of 21st century science and evolves every year, does not automatically equate to I'm an engineering student and I'm branched into Corps of Engineers, right? I was a history student and I was branched Army Aviation based on some other testing and some other things, right? So some of them are not direct fits. So, business administration majors, which is our most popular major, they're going to serve not just in finance or adjutant general corps, they're going to serve in the military intelligence corps, they're going to serve as transportation officers, and we have at least 1 officer serving in every branch from last year's graduating class and this year's graduating class, to include the emerging cyber corps. So We were one of the first to commission a cyber officer. The Citadel here has a growing cyber program. I bet you a whole lot of your sons and daughters are thinking about getting involved in this National Intelligence and Security Studies program. It seems to be one of the most popular majors moving forward, and they find themselves serving in the military or with another government agency upon graduation. Okay, a lot of training opportunities in the summer. Airborne, air assault, helicopters, airplanes, obstacle courses. That's us. I look forward to your questions. Did that help? Okay.
All right, I'm going to invite all three winners back to the platform. I'll be the moderator, and so what I would ask, if you just raise your hand, and I'll, if you have a specific service that your question is focused on, we'll definitely take that, but I may redirect afterwards just based on experience because we know it applies to others. We'll get the first one. Very patient.
Armin,
Yes, ma'am.
when you're talking about going to training between sophomore and junior year, are you
Yes.
talking about academic year or physical year? I know.
Academic year, here at the Citadel, it's almost always the same. Between their, they completed 2 semesters here, or 2 years here. They're about to start their 3rd year as 2nd class cadets. You know, we got to inverse, sometimes it gets confusing, you know, 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year, 1st year class. But it's really between their 2nd and 3rd year, right? So they're done with their sophomore year, off they go. Or no, correction, no, I said that wrong. See, when they're done with their junior year, off they go for 37 days. And we go out there with them. Most of us can't really go there with them. And then they come back their senior year, and very early in the year, like the other teammates, somewhere around October, they start figuring out where they're going to serve in the Army. In part, based on how they perform that summer. So it's an important place for them to excel.
Yes, sir.
For Colonel Dunn, what are scholarship opportunities for transferring students are available? Leaning towards,
So coming in from another college, a junior college or a regular college?
yes.
Okay, 2-year would probably be the one that'd be, depends how many credit hours they have. As they approach that 30 credit hours, we start to lose abilities to get scholarships, all right? But the rest of the competition still takes place as far as at the national level, by those standards. I think it was 3.5, 282, PF2. You're talking Marine.
Okay, but for the 2-year, where would that information be found?
We have pamphlets, we'll hand them out to you out there, quick read-ahead sheet that you can get online and you can get all that information. And we'll have a couple of folks out there to talk about.
Good question. The transfers for their
Were they in ROTC before?
No.
Okay, yeah, so I know that most of our programs are 4-year programs with some 2- and 3-year options, just for everybody else's edification too. But, so we'll bring students into the program simply by virtue of the fact that they've been doing ROTC in one of the other programs. So they do 2 years in Army and come over and say, hey, I really want to pursue Air Force, and we'll say, yeah, that's fine, that counts towards your credit, and that's okay. So it gives us some flexibility, but yeah, it would help if they had ROTC prior. But there's still opportunities in Air Force as well for those if there are other transferring students.
The challenge that I've seen for the 2 years I've been here is the Citadel accepting the transfer credits. It's not going to be getting into our program.
Yeah.
We'll get the training that they're required. I'll ask my boss to make sure that we can either accelerate or compress the Army ROTC training, and I can improve it at some level. But I've seen varying degrees of approval of cadets from outside the Citadel 4th class system trying to come in here. Some get a whole lot approved, and some get very little approved. Does that help, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
In terms of scholarship, it sounded like you said if you decide to switch from Army to Navy, there's a risk there because you have to reapply, right? It's not a transfer, you literally have to.
So in general, we discourage, if a student has one of the ROTC scholarships, we discourage them from switching. With the one exception in Colonel Dunn's program, Navy to Marine, Marine to Navy, which is administrative.
That's what I was gonna ask.
If they want to switch to the others, the cadet would have to drop the scholarship, recompete transfer academically, and then recompete, because each of the commanders wants the cadet in their program. In order to.
So that's what I was gonna ask, from Navy to Marine option is easier than or not, it's more likely to happen.
Yeah, we had one, it happens probably every other year. Haven't had any problems with it, either Navy to Marine or Marine to Navy.
And that's what I did as a cadet. I was Navy the first 2 years, I switched to Marine Corps. It's just an admin. Yes, sir.
So they can join up as
requirements, since we're senior military college, every cadet has to attend ROTC classes every semester they're enrolled. And then some of them will pursue a contract, and that's where the ROTC attendance
Well, so they're, as a cadet, they're already attending the ROTC?
comes.
In class, but they don't have to do what the units do. So we showed up there the Monday and Thursday afternoon, leadership lab, they don't have to do that.